Well, we got breaking news in college football. The CFP Board of Managers have unanimously approved to switch to a 5+7 model for the playoffs. Under this format, the playoff will include the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, followed by the next 7 highest-ranked teams as determined by the selection committee. The Pac-12, now down to just Washington State and Oregon State, have been the lone holdout before voting approved on Tuesday. Today, of course, the new expanded playoff begins next season, so we have plenty of questions and somebody to answer that. My guy Chip Patterson chiming in here at HQ. And of course, Chip, you've been talking about this for weeks now. Now that we know the case, the 5+7, your reaction to this news is what?
I think it's sensible. I'm glad that whatever hiccups there were preventing us from getting there have been taken care of. All the concerns have been addressed. And what really stands out to me in terms of it being sensible is that when you approved the 6+6 format, the Pac-12 still existed. The Pac-12 still had teams like Utah, Oregon, Washington, USC that would be in contention for a 12-team playoff format. Well, now those teams, they're in the Big Ten, they're in the Big 12. You even got Stanford and Cal in the ACC. So when we're thinking about the future of the playoff, we need to take the spot that we figured the Pac-12 would be in contention for, that 6th spot, and we need to give it to make it available to where those teams are now. Because when you're USC, when you are Washington, Oregon, when you are Utah, or maybe even Arizona, you are now going to be competing for potentially an at-large bid. So with the Pac-12 going away, we take that one automatic qualifier for a conference champion and we turn it into an at-large bid because we thought it was going to be for the Pac-12. So now let's make it available for where those Pac-12 schools are, which are in other conferences.
Speaking of those other conferences, maybe the ACC, Big 12, how does that open the door from them when we're talking about getting into that 5+7?
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. There's a lot of talk as though creating an at-large bid additionally would just be something that the SEC and the Big Ten fight over every year. And while I agree that the Super 2, as I've been calling them, continue to pull away from the rest of these conferences, one look at the way that the college football playoff has broken down in its history shows a lot of these teams that are in the ACC or in the Big 12 that they would have made it. So I went and I retrofit the 5+7 model all the way back to previous years using the committee's final rankings, and you saw teams like a Utah popping up a lot now in the Big 12. You saw the ACC back in 2015, 2016, 2017. In each one of those years, the ACC would have got an additional team in as well. Those would not have been opportunities if we had the 6+6 model. That would have been a bid that would have gone to maybe the Sun Belt or the American Athletic Conference or the Mountain West. So now, not only are we making that bid available for the places where the Pac-12 teams are, now we are also creating an additional at-large that could allow the ACC and the Big 12 to be multi-bid leagues. And the way that these brackets are decided on the financial side of things, you always, in terms of a conference office, want to have as many bids as possible. So expanding this additional at-large, that yes, it will be something that the 3rd or 4th best team in the SEC and the Big Ten are always talking about. But if you look at the way the committee rankings have gone previously, it's also a spot that could be available for an additional team from the Big 12 or the ACC.
So I'm hearing a lot more teams means a lot more money. How do you divide this when you're talking about the 12? You know, what are the rumblings you've been hearing about this?
Yeah, this is going to be something that I think is going to be a little bit more of a hiccup when we talk about 2026 and beyond. And that is an important point of clarification to this breaking news. This 12-team format, 5+7, is only in effect for now for the next 2 seasons. 2024, we're going to get it right away. It's going to change the way we talk about the sport. 2025, it's going to be there. But as of right now, at the time of this breaking news, we do not have any television contract, any further approved format. 2026 and beyond is what they are calling a fresh slate. So we get excited and we get, you know, a test kitchen version of the expanded playoff for the next 2 years, and we'll see what happens after that.
So, Chip, I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot. We went from 4 to 12. I mean, could we see 16? I mean, 20 at some point? What do you think?
Yeah, I think 16 possibly, and I don't think anything beyond that. Eliminating those 4 byes that are given to the 4 highest-ranked conference champions, I do think it would be a mistake because trying to compete for those byes, I think, incentivizes performance at the end of the regular season. That was one of the things I wrote about for CBSSports.com in terms of really enjoying the 5+7 model. But if you are just going to simply add more on-campus first-round games and have the best teams in the country participating in those, I think that that could be something that from the scheduling standpoint, you could be able to manage. Anything beyond 16 means adding another week. And Brandon, this playoff is going to last from December 20th to January 20th. With the schedule that they have right now, I can't imagine them adding another round. So expansion from 12 to 16, I could see it. Anything more than that, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, as the kids say, hopefully the math is mathing when it comes to this, because 5+7 gives you 12, so we got that part there. Chip Patterson, appreciate as always for that breaking news. So we like to play games here. Hypothetical, what a 12-team CFP would have looked like based on the rankings last year. You got Michigan at 1, Washington at 2, Texas, and then Alabama rounding out the top 4. Of course, you don't see Liberty. They were outside the top 12 there. But taking a look, this is what the future is in our hands, kids. 5+7 there. Plenty to watch the closer we get to college football coming up, of course, this fall. But don't forget, the conversation probably just changed with this breaking news of 5+7 from the CFP. You can catch it on Cover 3. Chip Patterson, the crew, always dialing it up here. Listen and give them a follow. Continuing that breaking news in college football, the CFP Board of Managers have unanimously approved the switch to a 5+7 model for the playoffs. Under this format, the playoff will include the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, followed by the next 7 highest-ranked teams as determined by the selection committee. The Pac-12, now down to just Washington State and Oregon State, have been the lone holdouts before the vote, of course, approved today. The new expanded playoff begins next season and extends only the next 2 seasons, 25 and 26. There are no plans when it comes to that 2026 season, so we'll see how that pans out. But continuing that breaking news with our Dennis Dodd, and your initial reaction, this just happening this morning is what?
Not surprised. Look, this was all about the Pac-12 and Kirk Schultz, the Board of Managers, Pac-12 representative and president of Washington State, trying to squeeze as much as he could for the Pac-2, Oregon State and Washington State, and whatever that becomes in the future. And I think he finally came to the realization that this is what it was going to be. My reporting early on says that they did not get Power 5 designation promised in the future. I don't know if they got any money promised, but I do know that with this out of the way, the 5+7, that's a reflection of the Pac-12 going away. It was 6+6. This was a common sense move. And now all the parties can go forward and start negotiating revenue distribution for the new TV deal. Now there's, whoever you believe right now, there either is or isn't an agreement on a new TV deal, a media rights deal for the CFP going forward. But I think that matters less than what the SEC and Big Ten want, because it looks for all the world like for the first time that those 2 conferences are going to get an unequal share. It started as an equal share in 1998 with the BCS, continued in 2014 with the CFP to today, and now we have the Super 2, which cannot be denied. I think they're going to go to the table, take their shoe off, Nikita Khrushchev style, and start banging on the table and wanting more money. That will be the next interesting story in this ongoing story.
Dennis, I know this is not a math class, but as you mentioned, that we go from 6+6 to 5+7. Some of the pros and cons initially from this reaction from you. What do you take away from that?
Well, again, as I said, it's just a recognition that the Pac-12 is going away. It's now a Power 4. I talked to Mike Oresco at the American about it a while ago, and he had no problem with voting for 5+7. He just said it was a reality of the Pac-12 going away. There's no need to have 6 automatic qualifiers. And to be clear, those 5 automatic qualifiers are the highest-ranked conference champions. Now, to complicate things, Notre Dame, if it finishes in the top 4, has to play a first-round game no matter where it finishes in the top 4, and that was the giveaway or the trade-off by Jack Swarbrick, their AD. We don't play, he was saying, we don't play a conference championship game, so we'll gladly play an extra game, perhaps on campus, in return for not demanding a first-round bye. So that's the first-round bye. It's complicated. Top 4 get a first-round bye. Top 5 conference champions get automatic qualification.
Dennis, so this in 2026, this is not the plan as we know for right now, but is this something more of a trial run that we can see maybe the 12 format, or could it be more expansion here in your thoughts?
Well, this was to address the final 2 years of the existing contract with ESPN. They had to do something. Again, with realignment, with, as I mentioned, the destruction of the Pac-12. This is just addresses, Brandon, as you mentioned, the last 2 years. In 2026, everything's off the table, including what has been mentioned, the Big Ten's desire, at least poking around at the edges of expanding to 16. Now, the Big Ten's mindset, at least what I can determine early on, is, well, we have the most teams. We should have more access to the bracket. And they do right now have 18 teams. That could grow bigger for anybody right now in realignment going forward. But they want a bigger bracket to accommodate their teams. We did the research on the editorial side, which supports this. Last year, the Big Ten and the SEC combined, Brandon, would have had 9 of the 12 spots. That's amazing. In the 10-year history of the CFP, had there been a 12-team playoff, those 2 leagues, currently realigned as they are going forward, would have averaged 7.6 spots out of the 12. You take one of those spots for the automatic group of 5 qualifier, that means only 3.4 spots for the other, whatever it is, 100 teams that would have been left.
So much to unpack, and of course, we'll find all that come this fall.